what got you started in the advertising business?
Oh wow, that's what started me in it. Yeah, actually, I mean, I was always interested in advertising, and more than that, I was interested in just doing creative ways of selling things, which is, in a way, well, advertising is a way of selling, but I'm on the creative end of it. So when you say what started me in advertising, since I was always an art director, a creative director, and an art director for years and years and years. I just retired about 5 years ago, but I was always interested in the creative process, and that is thinking of ideas, solving problems creatively, and to me, that's what sort of advertising is how do you get a message across? How do you tell a story that sort of persuades, if you will, in a nice way, persuade someone to buy your product or your service or to inquire about it. And I figured, instead of becoming an artist and painting and drawing, it was more intriguing to me to deal with the challenge of how do I sell something creatively. Well, okay, I can tell you this. I'll tell you this in sort of a nutshell. Because you were asking what started in advertising. All right, I did that when I was in Los Angeles. I worked in Chicago, Los Angeles, and ended up finishing in New York. That's where I'm at now. Okay, so in Los Angeles, the agency, Davis Ball and Columbato, you probably don't even need to know that. If you look it up, you'll see it'll tell you the agency, but you don't care about that. But one of the accounts we have, I'll just sort of spit this out quickly for you. One of the accounts we had was the local McDonald's dealers, right? The franchises, right? The drive-ins. Okay. And we would be doing advertising for them. They had a real problem getting business for their night business, okay? Their business went way down in the evening hours, okay? They were doing okay for lunch and everything else because McDonald's is, probably the biggest, or at least it was then, but it certainly is the biggest fast food company in the world. But anyhow, so they had a real problem with that. So we were the agency, and they said, what can you do to help our night business? People are just not ordering at night, and, the lunch business and breakfast is pretty good. Okay. So that's when I sat down with writers and stuff, and sat down and thought to myself, the night business, what would be interesting? And of course, when you do advertising, you say, well, what is it that sticks in someone's mind? You got to do something that's memorable, something that stands out, something that people remember and they can connect to. They can say, oh, that makes sense. They can relate to it. So long story short, I happen to, always remember and be a fan of Bobby Darin, Frank Sinatra, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, there's something here. Wait, when the shark bites, shark teeth, babe, back tonight, dine tonight, go out tonight. Wait a minute, Mac tonight, Mac the knife, Mac. I said, there's a rhyme there. Mac the knife. Mac tonight. Okay, they're both Macs. McDonald's, Mac in the song, and that was the original version. Was the one we used was Bobby Darin that we redid. That was probably the most popular one. Sinatra also did it. So long story short, I said, you know what? There's something here, and it's catchy. Mac the Knife was a very popular song, very popular, and Mac Tonight had such a ring to it, such a memory to it. You say, wait a minute, they're both so close. It's sort of catchy, it's funny, it's neat, it's cool. And then I said, okay, what goes with it? What are you looking at? What's the visual? What do you do in the commercial? You got the music. And then I thought, okay, Mac Tonight, what's at night? Okay, at night, what comes out? The moon. All right, so you know what? Let me look at what if it's a moon, and what if the moon is more of a human moon, that it has a face, it's a quarter moon, It's got a face. And he's cool. He's not just a regular moon guy. He's got glasses. He's got sunglasses. He's a dude. He's cool. And put him in a suit and put him at a piano, blah, blah, blah. One thing led to another. Start doing drawings, start doing sketches, and saying, okay, what if we develop a character and we call him Mac Tonight, and he sings songs, and he floats in the sky, and he has a white piano, and he plays, and it's just like one thing led to another, but it was really that kind of thing that I connected the two together, the knife and the night, the night and the knife, by connecting those things together, and then going to, I forgot, we went to the publishers because you have to buy the rights for Mac the Knife. As a matter of fact, it's a funny story. When the thing sort of came out, we had a call from Frank Sinatra's agent, and that they said, they called the agency and they said, hey, Frank Sinatra, lived in Palm Springs, and he said, Frank saw this commercial, the first one we did, Mac Tonight, and he would be interested in actually doing a commercial for Mac Tonight if he could sing it. And we said, oh my God. He said, so what he said is a true story. He said, Frank would like you guys to come down to his place. He would he would fly you down on his plane if you guys want to have a meeting with him, because he would be interested in getting involved with that kind of a campaign, and he does not do advertising. Anyhow, long story short, that's off to the side. We wanted the original version that Darren did, and we said, thank you, God, it's so great, but no thank you. So anyhow, it moved on from there. The bottom line was this. When it came out, and we did the commercials, and it was very different, it was very entertaining, it broke the bank. And what happened is McDonald's sales went off the charts. It wasn't only fun to look at. It wasn't only interesting where people would do lamps and they would do hats and all that with Mac Tonight, but it also did a great job selling McDonald's in the evening. And as a matter of fact, the main office, which is in Chicago, the corporate offices of McDonald's, they came to Los Angeles to our agency, and their agency was, I think, Needham, Harper and Steers. Not that that's important. That's their main agency in Chicago. They came to Los Angeles to say this: of all the advertising ever done for McDonald's, Mac Tonight was probably the most noticed and the most effective advertising that they have had. And that was like a real feather in our cap, because we were like a little agency, we're small compared to these other guys, but we were creative and we came up with a neat idea, and we were able to produce it with some really interesting commercials and have fun with it, and did music. The music, of course, carries it. And that thing just went on and on. As a matter of fact, okay, you wouldn't know this, though. You're way too young. Do you remember a product called Screaming Yellow Zonkers? It was a product that was compared to Cracker Jack. It was a butter glazed popcorn, and it was a phenomenon. It was like Mac Tonight did that too. Did that years before out of Chicago. It's called, if you look it up on Google, Screaming Yellow Zonkers with a Z. Anyhow, that's off to the side. But anyhow, as a matter of fact, if you look up on Google, you can also see Screaming Yellow Zonker t-shirts. They sell t-shirts now. They've been doing it for a while. But anyhow, the fact that you like it, you're interested in it is great. And I'm happy to hear that. What else can I tell you?
With how creative the ads were, it's crazy how it still resonates with people after this long,
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's really funny because every now and then I do get calls and people do remember it. So that's a very true statement. What you just said is that after all these years, there are certain things that stick in your mind and they resonate. That's a good word for it. And I guess people really liked it. They really liked it. They related to it. And it was, you know why? Part of it is, the truth is, at least to me, you look around at advertising today, And if you looked at it in the last, 10 years or whatever, it's all pretty boring. In other words, I ended up doing a lot of pharmaceutical stuff, the worst stuff in the country. It's all that stuff you see on every TV all the time about diabetes and all this other stuff. You see it all the time, right? When you turn on your TV, it's all pharmaceutical stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy, and it's crap, and it's junk, and it's stuff that makes you sick because it's so boring. It's just people walking on the beach in the middle of it, and they tell you all the things that the medicine could do. It could be harmful, it could kill you, it could cause a stroke or whatever. But it's because the pharmaceutical companies have so much money that they bombard the airways. Anyhow, my point is this. When you look at all the advertising today, Mac Tonight stands out because it is so creative and so different. That's why it resonated. Even back then when it was done, it stood out from the crowd. And that's what advertising should do. Advertising that's really good, that really works, that really resonates, to use your word, is the advertising that does two things. It stands out because you remember it. Oh, wow, that was cool. It's entertaining. I really like the music. I like what happened. And the third thing is, it's relatable. In other words, you look at it and you say, hey, that makes sense. All right. Even if it doesn't make sense, people could say, I remember it. But the fact that, hey, you know what? That's a good idea. Let me get a hamburger tonight. Let me get a cheeseburger. Let me get some fries tonight. Okay? So that part's relatable. And did it stand out? You bet your life it stood out. Because it was so different, and it was also entertaining. So that's why it stands out today. And when you say, hey, it was done like, what? It was done 25 years ago, 30 years ago. It really is. It's got to be 35 years, whatever. I can't forget even what year I did it. But anyhow, it's because today consumers are dying to say, they turn off their ads. When the commercials come on, you switch the channel or you take the sound down because they're boring, they're not relatable, and they're all the same. Nothing is, very, very few of them are creative. The only ones, for example, something like, Geico, right? You watch that, right?
Yeah, I watch those ads.
Yeah, and Geico has some stuff at least that's sort of fun, and it's sort of like, hey, that's sort of funny and cute and all that. But for the most part, advertising today is bad. It's boring. It doesn't resonate with people. So I think that's why it stood out. Anyhow, your turn. Go ahead.
Yeah, nowadays advertisements are really boring. If all ads were like the Mac Tonight ads, I would watch the commercials.
Right.
And I wish more companies would see it that way.
Yeah, I do too. That's one of the reasons, actually, I got out of the business, because at a certain point, I did a lot of stuff that you would find, if you like Mac Tonight, you would have liked older stuff that I did, but you're way too young for that. But even today, if I ran stuff for you, which I don't have anymore, you'd say, wow, that is really cool. You would have laughed. You would have liked it. But they don't do ads like that anymore. The commercials now are like, they're wallpaper. You see one, you see them all. It's like doing ads for an insurance company. It's like, who cares? It's not relatable. So, but anyhow, that's sort of the story of, in a nutshell, of Mac. I don't know. Do you have any specific questions or anything else I could help you with?
How many advertisements did you do for the Mac Tonight campaign? Like, how many ads in total were there?
I think there were 4. I think we did something like 4. And then some other, it might have been the main advertising agency in Chicago that took it over. They took the idea. They said, all right, and then they did some stuff. It wasn't really the same. So I would say I did, I think, 4 of them, the 4 original ones, the ones you would have said, hey, those are cool. Those are great.
Yes, like a spinning burger.
Yeah, he was sitting on top of a burger with a white piano playing. He was up in the sky. He was floating. All those. Those were the original. Those were the best ones. Those were the ones that launched the campaign. After that, I really can't tell you if they sort of another agency took it over, and McDonald's gave it to them, and they watered it down, and all of a sudden it kept going down and down. And then we did a couple of print ads. We did some stuff in the Sunday papers with the character, with the Moon Man, and then they did promotions, and giveaways and stuff like that. But that was about it. And it got a lot of publicity, a lot of press, which is great. So that's about it.
Were there any radio commercials by chance?
There were, and it's a good question, and I cannot recall because I did not do the radio. One of the writers that we gave it to did that, but it was the guy who did the talking in the commercial, who also did radio. It was a written script, and it was things like, "Hi, I'm Mac from," you remember me? "Hi, I'm Mac from Mac Tonight." And you know what? Tonight, when you really, it's one of those typical selly kind of things. And of course, the music is what carried it, because that's on radio. What do you have? You have sound, all right? You have. So we had to use the music, of course, which really carried the whole thing. So that's what got your attention on the radio. But the rest of it, which is sort of like the guy talking about, and right now, if you go in tonight to McDonald's, you'll be able to get a double cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke for, $1.25. And, so it was pretty selly. And again, so that's what sold it. That's what carried the radio. The radio was nowhere near what the TV was, because obviously the TV is visual. You're hearing the singing, you're watching this great character, you're having fun with that. The radio is just basically the music.
Yeah. In your personal opinion, which one of the ads did you do that you liked the most? Like, which one did you like the most out of all of them?
I actually sort of like the first one. I like the one where he's up in the sky, as I just mentioned, on top of a burger, on top of a Big Mac, with the piano singing it. That sort of is the one that launched it, and that sort of said it all to me. That tied it all together. The hamburger, the nighttime, the piano with him playing the music, being the cool guy he was in the suit and with the sunglasses and the moon hat. But that was sort of like, wow, this is fun. This is really great. And then, the others were good too. They were all good. But I sort of stuck with that one there. And actually, my recollection after that sort of gets a little foggy, because that was a while ago. Did so many stuff, but in different spots. But I think it was my favorite.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, that's really about as much as I can tell you, or whatever. And I'm delighted that you're interested, and you still like Mac Tonight. I mean, that you're still sort of keeping that thing alive, and that's pretty cool. I appreciate that. Put it that way.
So what did you use to shoot the commercial with? Did you shoot it on 35 millimeter, or did you shoot it on tape?
No. That was all film, 35. I can't remember who the director was. No, that was all. We shot that all on a big stage in Hollywood. I'm trying to remember the studio. I don't even know if the studio's still there. But no, a lot of it was on a crane, and some of it was a little bit of handheld here and there, but it was all 35. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. If you ever got the chance, would you ever consider re-scanning the film in HD or 4K with the advent of film scanning and film restoration?
I think yes. Now, the problem is I have no idea where the film is, or the original, or whatever, and I have nothing. Matter of fact, because I left California 28 years ago, so I never took anything. I don't don't know that I even have a copy of one of the commercials. I have an old, the inch tapes. What do you call them? When people used to put their reel on a tape,
Sure.
a wide tape, half inch or not half inch,
Videotape.
Yeah, it was. Then what you do is you transfer it onto a tape and you put that in a case and you go and you put it in a cassette, right, to play it. You put it in in order to play it, it would be one of those, what they call them. It was it's like a 3/4 cassette you'd put it into.
Yeah, so like a master tape of the VHSs.
Exactly. You put it on a master, like a 1-inch high-def tape. At those days, that was 30 years ago, let's say. Okay, so you can imagine how things have advanced. So you put it on a 1-inch tape, HD, high-def, and then you transfer it to like a half-inch or 3/4 if you wanted to show it to somebody. I don't even know. I have one of those tapes. God knows how you even play it. I have to go to a studio. Nobody has those machines anymore. That's all prehistoric. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That stuff is ancient, man. That's like caveman stuff. But to answer your question, would I love to do it? Would I love to put that on HD and everything? Oh, absolutely. That would be great. And really bring out the color and bring it back to life. But I wouldn't have the slightest idea how to get a hold of the negatives, the film, or whatever. I mean, and the agency since then has changed names and all that. So, anyhow, that's about it.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else about Mac tonight that's kind of like, I don't know, like, is there any other inspirations that you had while creating the character?
Well, I think if we could have, because it was a temporary thing, I would have taken that character, because I think that character could live for a long time. I would have taken him to other places. And where are those places? You could take him anywhere, because he was so... he stood out so much, and he said so much without saying anything. As soon as you looked at him, that was the neat thing about it. Once he did the song and everything, you look at him and you say, oh, that's Mac Tonight. He doesn't have to say anything. They don't say, hey, who are you? Why do you have a moon on? Hey, that's the Moon Man. No, it's Mac Tonight. You could take him away from the piano, and I would have him walking down the streets of Manhattan. So, hey, Mac Tonight. I'd have him walking into McDonald's. I'd have him interviewing people. You could take that character anywhere. In other words, he could be outside with like a man on the street. You follow me? And he could be there with a microphone, and he could just pull people over and say, hey, excuse me, I see you right now. Looks like are you hungry? Looks like you're hungry. You must be hungry. I can tell by looking at you. You're licking your chops, all right? Hey, what about a great hamburger, huh? You know who I am? Oh, who doesn't know who you are? Yeah, you got it. I'm Mac Tonight, man. Hey, listen, and I do it at night. You could take him anywhere. All I'm saying is, where would it go? The sky's the limit, so to speak. I'd take him away from the piano. I would always, for the most part, use him at night, which would be sort of cool. Put him in a drive-in, use him during the day, and say, look, I'll see you tonight. He had an endless lifespan, as far as I'm concerned. And the truth is, even today, you could bring him back. If, with the commercials that McDonald's does, now, boring. Aren't you seen them,
Yeah, those modern commercials McDonald's has.
They're terrible. They're terrible. And it's like, so you could bring back, and it would stand out, and say, you know what? You bring back a character that was successful for you. If he was one of the most successful campaigns you've ever had, why wouldn't you sit there as the board of directors or creative people say, you know what? Let's do a test and see, what if we brought back Mac Tonight today? And what you would say is, what would Mac Tonight look like today? Okay, he was done, let's say 35 years ago, roughly. Okay, that's a long time. All right, that's a lot older than you. Now, we saw what he looked like then, right? He had the suit on, he had the shades on, he was cool, he was the dude, right? Okay. Today, we're in 2022. What would he look like today? Would he be the same guy? He'd certainly have the moon. He'd certainly have the sunglasses. That's a sign of a dude. But how would he dress today? How would he dress? Would he wear a suit? Would he wear a tie? I don't know. Would he have on a leather jacket, a motorcycle jacket? Would he have boots on? I don't know. Would he have a baseball cap on top of his? I don't know, right? So you would take him and say, let's bring Mac back. Or do you say, bring him back the way he was? Because he was perfect then. People loved him. Why change him? And the others, I'm just giving you both sides of the thing. And I'm going to stop here for a minute. But you can go on, you can say, well, wait a minute. He was so successful the way he was. Why would you want to change him even today? Because he's timeless. He is timeless, which means he goes on and on just the way he was. Everybody loved him. Why change his persona? No, put him in that suit. Put him in that suit. Put him in the sunglasses, and just put him in different places. Put him in some cars. Put him on bikes. Put him on and maybe you don't change him at all. So I'm saying these are all thought process that we go through, and I'm just saying I would fight for a thing. At least I would do a campaign or a series to McDonald's to say, look, you got nothing to lose. Why don't you try bringing Mac back, and why don't you test it? They test everything. Why don't you test it? We go back to the music, because even to this day, everybody remembers that. If you remember, he's up in the clouds. There's a big clock behind him, and the clock would hit 12. All right, you remember all that? That was in the commercial. Okay, so that's great. You remember that. And I also think a lot of other people remember that. But for the older people like myself, or people that remember the song, even if you never heard of the song, it's still a cool song. You know what I'm saying? So even if you never heard of it, Bobby Darin, who did the original version of it, even if you played it today, you play it to a different kind of a beat. You play it to a little bit more of a hipper beat. Follow me? So you take the thing, dun, 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 and you do it in a different way that's more poppy. You know what I mean? That's more today. So there's so many things you could do to bring Mac back. If someone were to say, tell you what, we find that interesting, why don't you explore it and give us some ideas of what you would do with him if we brought him back? I would love that assignment. I would love that if McDonald's came back and said, hey, you know what, dude? You're right. It was really cool. It was memorable. It achieved everything it was supposed to. It was successful. So if you brought it back today, 2022, show us what would happen. That would be a great assignment, right?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But if you were given that assignment, how do you think you'd change him?
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. I don't know that I would. I think I would have to really sit down and think about it and say, first of all, would I change him, or would I bring him back but change the environment he's in? In other words, instead of him being up in the sky and the piano with the clock and all that, put him into 2022 today. Put him into today's environment. All right, put him with today's people and make him contemporary, but don't change him. Don't change the way he looks. Change his environment. You follow me? I am not sure I would change him, but I would change where he's at, because now it's 35 years later. So put it this way, we as people never change. We might age, okay?
Yeah.
I would not age him. You could do that. That's a little cheesy and corny. That would ruin the character. I'm not going to age him, put a beard on him, and have white hair like myself. That's really a cheeseball thing to do. Don't do that. You're killing it, okay? Now, but what I would say is, okay, but 35 years later, what happens? The environment and the world has changed. People change the way they look. People change the way they dress. People change the way they sort of eat, their habits, their cars, their clothes, the way they spend money, what they buy, their houses, what they look like, their TVs, right? 35 years ago, televisions changed. Nobody had smartphones. Nobody had, 80-inch flat screen TVs that are like a quarter of an inch thick. Nobody had all glass houses that were, you know what I mean? So the environment changes, but Mac doesn't. And Mac comes into, it's like introducing Mac 2022. Mac is back. That's what I would do. I would say, just like Mac tonight, Mac is back. That's the line. That's the campaign line. Mac is back. Well, what does that mean? Well, here we go. You play the music. Hey, listen, if I ever had that assignment, I would love that assignment. I'd get together with a team with a writer, and I'd start working on stuff. Be great. You want to give me that assignment? I'd be glad to take it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So listen, I'm going to have to drop off the planet here. I'm glad you're an enthusiastic fan, and stay with it.
Awesome. I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. And stay healthy. Thank you so much.